And finally, acquire the personal skills that lead to retention and promotion. Anybody any idea what they might be? There's a chap called Nigel McLennan that did a survey on this that I found quite interesting. Any idea what the key... He identified 5 key skills to get people promoted. Any idea what they might be?
Smile.
Pardon?
Smile.
Yeah, that's part of it. What you're saying is there's something about people skills in there. Yeah. So people skills are certainly important. Anything else? Pardon? Self-promotion. Funnily enough, that's not on the list.
Self-motivation.
Self-motivation. Trying to translate that. Yeah, it's down here as be a low-maintenance employee. In other words, be resourceful, get on with it yourself. Anything else?
Attitude, willingness to help others.
Willing to help others. There's one person in particular you ought to help in order to get promoted. Pardon?
Yourself. Help yourself.
There's somebody above you that you help your boss. Add massive value is the other one. It's actually being good at your job and aligning your job to what the requirements of the organisation are. Keep your boss informed and looking good was one of the key ones. We talked about being a low-maintenance employee, being resourceful, and develop the awesome people skills. Smiling plus, I guess you could call that it. And finally, this is more for promotion than for retention, because it might be a bit risky. Have a successor in place. That shows a degree of confidence, shall we say. And finally, for organisations, I guess there is an opportunity when you get the credit crunch. The opportunity is that there will be talent around. There will be talent that will be thinking, should I be somewhere else? And if your company's, organisation's reputation can be enhanced so that you become the employer of choice, then particularly when if your commercial edge depends upon you being able to attract creative talent, there is an opportunity there in terms of acquiring it. Remember that the survivors are going through loss too, because they're actually probably members of teams that have disbanded, and they may be missing some of the people that have left, so don't ignore them. This one's fairly self-explanatory. Communication is key. Unfortunately, what we find all too often is that in situations where there may or may not be an impending redundancy, communication kind of goes out the window. There's a communication breakdown for fear of saying the wrong thing. People don't have a strategy for what they should be communicating, and therefore they tend not to communicate. Which brings us to the point that using an outplacement firm imparts positive messages to both leavers and survivors. And on that note, I will pass over to David. Thank you very much.
Do I need to do anything with this to get it going?
There you go.
There we go. Thanks. There we go. Thank you, Peter, for that. Chiumento basically is an HR consultancy, and what we're looking to do is to be able to provide you, just in terms of this presentation, with an overview of the view of 21st century planning, career planning, from our side of the fence, from our experience. As Peter's already said, the routes to market are currently slightly more complex than they have been in the past, the use of the internet. So just in terms of this presentation, I'm going to give you a bit of an overview with regard to the current situation here and now, which is a bit of doom and gloom, unfortunately, but we've had tasters of that as we've gone through today. How outplacement potentially can benefit the business, but also benefit individuals. So you've got the dual edge there. And also just to look how, from our point of view, as a business and other consultancies as well, how we're increasingly looking to add value to the HR departments to be more than what we call is a distress call. So you only call us when you've got some bad news to give to somebody. So it's more about building more of a partnership, as it were. The cost cutting that's taking place at the moment is obviously, as a business, in terms of outplacement, we're busier than ever. And we're experiencing more redundancies. So here and now, a lot of companies are saying, do we, don't we? Do we supply outplacement services? What's the value of actually delivering those? 1.97 million is the current figure in terms of the unemployment level, and job losses create headlines. A lot of organisations that I've spoken to recently, the headlines sometimes are inaccurate to a degree. They affect the actual the profit levels and the nervousness of the board of directors and investors within businesses. So that's an issue. So the key is to look at turning the negative situation for the individual, but also for the business, far more into a positive situation. And the figure at the bottom there, which shows that individuals who go through outplacement typically are in the top 10% of job searchers. Doesn't mean they get the job, but it just means, as Peter's graph showed, that they're in a better position, better equipped to go out into the job market and be successful. How does outplacement benefit businesses like yourselves, particularly in the media industries? Increasingly, we're finding a lot of companies are very aware that if people are exiting the business on an ongoing basis, they could well be customers for the actual services that they sell on an ongoing basis. So to exit people from businesses in a manner which they feel comfortable with, it seems to be quite a high concern for a lot of businesses. The next point's been said time and time again today about managing survivors. It's one of the key things. You don't want people within the business who are sitting there going, okay, I've got a stay of execution, I'll either jump or I'm just demotivated. So one of the other things that we look to do is to offer support there. And businesses acting in a positive manner means that going forward in the future, the very people that you could be letting go now, in 6 months' time, in a year's time, 2 years' time, you could be re-employing. So again, if you've done it in a professional manner, it's more likely that they may sit there and say, okay, this has happened to me in the past, but you looked after me. And also as a business, you manage your own PR. You've not got the newspapers, the media, to a degree, sort of informing information about what's happening within your business. You're more likely to have people coming back and say, okay, it wasn't good, however, they looked after me and I've got to a better place, and my career planning going forward is stronger and better. And also the effect nowadays as well about people keeping in contact with each other after they've left businesses means that sort of social network that takes place is actually typically quite strong and quite important as well. How does outplacement fit into the HR agenda? Talent. Talent management is a key thing for everybody in terms of HR, in terms of looking forward for managing the talent pipeline. And this is where organisations are able to offer more than, as I said before, the distress purchase. So things like assessments to help selection of candidates. So potentially businesses are talking to us before they're delivering the news to help you plan and programme whatever takes place. Recruitment in terms of re-employment and engagement, assisting you with survivor management. So some of the support that we give as a business is through the consultation period, ensuring fair and lawful selection of candidates so you don't get any comeback following the process, helpful managers breaking the news. The amount of managers that we come across who sit there and say, I'm not very comfortable at doing that, I don't feel comfortable to do it. If we're talking to organisations higher up the actual process in terms of when they're looking at this, we're able to help them with that. Managing survivors, awareness sessions. One of the key things that we as a business and many businesses do is to support an HR team which has less resource to be able to deliver the outplacement news in terms of what the programs are. So instead of you guys going and talking about pensions, the actual the sort of compensation that's there, In terms of outplacement, we can actually do that selling on your behalf if you're buying the services.